Hey y'all, welcome to She Read a Real Talk, where I share real Reddit stories, providing reflective commentary with a compassionate perspective. And today we're going to be talking about entitled people. So come on, pull a chair up to my dining room table and let's chat. So, entitled people, these are people who think they deserve more and deserve better just because they are who they are, and they really know better than anyone else. These people think they deserve special privileges and benefits when they're really not willing to work for it or earn it. So we all probably have come across entitled people. And one example that I can think of is that person who thinks they deserve a certain position or job, right? And they don't have the credentials, they don't have the degree. But just because they are who they are, they think for some reason that they should get the job when they're not qualified. That is an entitled person. They're wanting, again, that special treatment, the benefits, the privileges that they aren't willing to work for. Another element I would like to bring into this conversation is when you think about the social constructs that we live in, it is people who are given favor or think they deserve favor because of things like their appearance or wealth or their position or title. Those are some other factors that come into play, especially when you think about entitled individuals. An entitled person, it is a person who is just not willing to wait their turn. It could be as simple as someone being in the store in a line and they're at the back of the line, but they think they should go next. And at the end of the day, we are all human. And there is a certain element of being fair that we all desire. And I think that's the real rub. That is the issue with entitled people is that they don't want things to go fairly for others. They want to be next in line when they're really at the end of the line. But without going too much further, I want to introduce myself. My name is Harper, and I will be guiding us through the real talk and the Reddit post. So let's go ahead and jump into the first post. So the title, you guys, is Entitled Bully Gets Their Just Rewards. And it starts by saying, my wife has an entitled coworker slash acquaintance. I use the term acquaintance as she does not run in our friend circle, but we try to limit or avoid contact with her. We will call her Carrie. Anyways, Carrie is known for bullying coworkers at work, saying that she can get people fired, she can't, screaming at people, and at large, just general bad behavior. Her favorite thing to do to intimidate people is to tell them they'll F around to find out. This is important for later. So Carrie had this hookup buddy. Nothing serious, just a guy she would bang and kick out the door. Carrie is also notorious for collecting engagement rings. She would begin dating a guy, get a ring from them, get them to pay off some of her bills, and then kick them to the curb. Again, I bring this up only for context to her character to reinforce that the hookup buddy guy meant nothing to her, as she didn't date him nor try to get a ring from him. She used him and kicked him to the curb. Whenever someone with money showed her attention, she would also frequently talk ish about the guy behind his back. So Carrie was on one of her short-term engagements. So the hookup buddy, let's call him Bill, was currently not someone she was seeing, as the new guy had just bought her a $6,000 ring. And she, again, I'm serious. This is what the letter says. I'm serious. She collected engagement rings like they were Pokemon. And he also paid 10 grand to get her roof fixed. So she was happy with this guy and had no interest in Bill at all. Enter Mandy. Mandy is another coworker of my wife's and Carrie's. I personally don't know her, but from what I've been told, she just got out of a 15-year marriage where she wasn't allowed to do anything and was very controlled. Carrie and Mandy are friends, well, drinking buddies. Carrie likes to drink a lot, and by a lot, I mean all the time. But nevertheless, they were on good terms. So randomly, Mandy meets Bill. Mandy doesn't know Bill's history with Carrie, nor that he even knows her. So they hit it off like really good. And they're getting along so well that they begin dating, and it blossoms into a great relationship, one that's built on respect and love. Carrie finds out and loses her effing mind. Again, she never dated Bill, or she never even really wanted Bill. She never had any interest in him besides their intimacy, let's say that. Hell, she is currently engaged to a guy, but Mandy took her man and she let the world know about it. Carrie started by going to their boss daily and asking him, why does this B still work here? She would also loudly exclaim this on the work floor for all to hear. Also, Carrie spent the whole hour yelling and screaming at her for something Mandy didn't even do. Carrie would also frequently harass both when they were out and about in town. She would loudly call her a bee, a slut, and other obscenities, just all the nasty things that someone can say to someone else. She would not only loudly say these things in their proximity, but tell anyone that would listen or not listen, basically anyone around her, how she was wronged by Mandy and Bill. And she thought about it, and that Mandy is effing around and she's going to find out. Fast forward 2 months, Mandy and Bill are still together and extremely happy. Carrie is not surprisingly no longer engaged to that guy. Also, not surprisingly, has already been engaged to another guy and married after a week. It was unfortunately the 2-year anniversary of the passing of a mutual friend of all parties involved. Carrie is using this time to take a week off work to drink. This is a whole nother can of worms. Basically, she isn't close to this person who passed as she claims to be. But, anyways, once work is over, everyone else goes to this bar to have a drink to celebrate the departed life. So, again, once Carrie, after 2 full days of drinking, sees Mandy, she begins to just dig into her again with all the slut shaming stuff. Mandy, finally having enough of it, attempts to talk to Carrie in an attempt to reconcile. Carrie is having none of this. She keeps calling her names and proceeds to tell her that Mandy is going to F around and find out. And it ends with calling her, uh, I can't say the word. I'm just going to say it's a C word, and it says, see you next Tuesday. So she calls Mandy this. Well, I'm guessing something snapped, and Mandy straight snapped and threw a beer bottle straight at her, hitting her in the face. Imagine the cop in the Big Lebowski throwing the coffee cup, knocking her on her behind. There's a slight pause, and someone I don't know pipes up. It looks like you were the one who effed around and found out. Carrie, obviously stunned, gets up and leaves. So the next day, she showed up at work with a very obvious black eye. She isn't saying anything to Mandy, but going to everyone else complaining that she was the victim, not understanding that everyone has been watching her bully this poor girl for the last few months. And that's kind of it. Nothing else has happened since then, but if it does, I'll let you know. Sorry this got so long-winded. So this right here is super messy, you guys, because there is not only escalation, but what concerns me is that Carrie's behavior, along with the drinking, is very volatile. And really troublesome is that the job allows this behavior. Work is a place where you need to feel like you are safe. At least that your physical, there's no physical harm that's going to come to you. And there is a certain amount of psychological safety that you should have at work. But I recognize there are toxic work environments, but no matter how toxic a work environment is, nobody should be able to go around yelling obscenities at you. So I'm not understanding where they work at where that type of behavior is tolerated. But getting back to what happens at this get together at the bar, where there's this altercation, super troublesome because physical violence is never the answer. These are very grown people here. So you got to be able to control your temper. But okay, I get it. You got Carrie picking to the point where it's like Mandy not even really being that type of person. She engages. With Carrie having, it seems like, anger issues, she has the inability to control her behavior, and she drinks on top of that. My concern is where this situation will go from here. Carrie seems like the type that she might be plotting in the background and maybe trying to have her people come to work, whether it be her family or people that she know come to work and attack Mandy and or Bill. She also may know where Bill lives. What if she again is plotting and tries to attempt to do something to them when they're over Bill's house? Like, this situation is so problematic because of Carrie being the issue, and it could get even messier. But with that, let's go ahead and get into the comments. First comment says, how is Carrie even still employed at this place? Any HR department worth their salt would have a field day with her. The next comment says, I would not want to work at a place that lets this be fling her ish around other employees like that. The people in charge must be totally useless. This is like a high school cafeteria in the 80s. Damn. That being said, if it was on like Donkey Kong, I was there. I bring that ish up to this be like every week. Like, hey, remember when you got knocked the F out with that beer bottle? Remember? Ha ha ha. So that comment really had me cracking up because, yeah, on like Donkey Kong. And I will say about that comment, this situation does seem like like high school cafeteria. All the cliques are there. That's where everything goes down. If you are in it with somebody else, that's when it's gonna go down, or you're gonna plan on what y'all gonna do after school. So this comment really not only had me cracking up, but I think they definitely hit the nail on the head when they saying this whole situation, this whole job situation seems like high school, because where do you go after high school where you are allowed to just call people out of their name and act out of bounds? I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next post. But before I do so, please, if you made it this far, like, comment, subscribe. Yes, like, comment, and subscribe. And let me know in the comments, if you were Mandy, how would you have dealt with this situation? Mandy seemed like she was really trying to hang in there and take it, but at a certain point, it was too much and she snapped. And like the person who piped up said, Carrie's the person that ended up effing around and finding out. But seriously, guys, I hope that nothing else happens in this situation. I hope it does not escalate, even though we know Carrie is problematic and it seems like she might do, because she has a propensity. She just has that type of attitude where she might do something else. So let's go ahead and get into the next post, which is titled, Don't Work for Them Even Though They Offer You Better Opportunities. I was the one who made you. So the OP is going to reference that quote in her post. So I'm going to read the title again, which is the quote the OP references, which says, Don't work for them even though they offer you better opportunities. I was the one that made you. So the post starts out by saying the quote said wasn't actually spoken, but it was implied. Recently, I applied for a job within the same company, but at a different building with a different person. I had informed my boss about the interview, and she was delighted because she thought I still work with her part-time, until I mentioned they'd offered me a full-time job from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Now, I've worked for my boss for 2 years part-time because I was studying, but I decided to drop out of college after a year to focus on earning money rather than spending more years into getting the degree because I was broke. I barely earned enough to move out, and I was impatient. A 25-year-old female. I felt behind compared to my peers who'd already gotten their degrees, had their own places. I graduated high school later at the age of 21. My boss was aware of this, yet she did not offer me a full time position despite my having more free time. And she only gave me $1 raise. I was naive enough to think there was no full time positions, considering my coworkers don't work full time either. And my boss blamed it on it being that they all had other jobs. Because I want to earn more pay per month. And with my experience with the company, I thought to apply to other branches to occupy the rest of my week. But when the interview ended, the manager of the branch mentioned the possibility of working full time after some months working there, and she showed me the hours, which had shocked me. I felt like my potential was being wasted at my current job. A few days later, I informed my boss of the offer because I innocently thought she would be accepting of my possible transfer and help me to prepare. Instead, she became angry and stated, how could I have the audacity to betray her? After all she's done for me, after all these years, she was going to give the other person a piece of her mind. No way should I consider that position after she had worked so hard to train me. I must prioritize her. How dare they offer that to her coworker? Not once has she given me a better offer to stay. Throughout the time I had worked there for her, she belittled me, compared me to others, made me cry in front of everyone. She made me feel guilty over little mistakes. She would also breathe down my neck, instruct me to do something, but then get angry when I did it. I tend to be a people pleaser, and despite all this, I stayed because I didn't want to be left without a job. But I did receive an email and I got accepted to the job today and will have my employment contract soon. I will finally be free. Then there was an edit to say thank you to everyone for your kind words, suggestions, and congratulations. Then there was another update which says some small updates, which will be the last I will edit this post. I will start my new job very soon and sign the contract of employment and officially resign my old job. My boss had made things harder before my last day working there and even tried getting my coworkers on her side, but they did not entertain what she was saying about me and stayed silent, really to avoid the same treatment. They wished me the best and are sad to see me go, but understood the circumstances. Hopefully, that will be all. Unfortunately, I have encountered this type of behavior with supervisors and managers, even in my own career. And people certainly seem to really be so self centered as to only focus on their needs, to only focus on the fact that you need to be there to serve them, to even though they may not like you, they may belittle you as the supervisor did with the OP. And it's really shocking that employers, supervisors, managers, they don't really want you to move on and to do better, even when they may know that you may be in a less than ideal situation. They just don't care. I've seen situations where people have retaliated when they knew that their employee was moving on or transitioning to another job. I've been in circumstances where it was very widely known that, hey, if you're going to look for another job or if you're going to transition, be very careful and don't let the manager know because they get really nasty when they know that you have another job coming. So, with that being said, it has caused me and suggestions I make to others is to be very intentional and strategic when you, one, are looking for a job while you might want to let your employer know just as a courtesy, it may be a best practice for you not to just to protect yourself. One reason is to protect yourself from if you tell them, hey, I'm seeking other opportunities, you don't want them to let you go. But another reason is you also don't want them to make it rougher on you, as we seen with the OP and her situation. I would also suggest when you get another job, make sure all of your background checks, all your pre-employment screening is done and you've basically signed the contract or you have your start date. There is nothing that could be a barrier from you leaving your current position. Do all of that stuff before you let your current employer know, hey, I'm giving you this notice, whether it be 2 weeks or it be a week, whatever the notice be. And I say that because I've seen situations where job offers have been rescinded. You've already given your 2 weeks to your current employer, and now it's too late for you to go back on that. So you just got to be so careful when you are seeking other opportunities. But also, let's going back to this very self-centered and obnoxious supervisor that this young lady had. I also want to highlight when working with a young person, this is also annoys me about this manager is that you should be training them for the next opportunity. Whatever that opportunity could be to help them grow, where I think so many managers have it wrong. They don't really think about how their employees, what that career path is for them, how they can be an asset in helping that person grow for that next opportunity. Because if you do, you will get, in my opinion, will get better performance from your employees when you treat them right, when you care and you are invested in helping them grow. You will get better performance from them. Other than if you belittle them, you put them down, you make them cry, that doesn't make people want to work hard. But with that being said, you guys, I'm going to go ahead and get into the comments. It says, if you're feeling like being petty, I suggest not burning any bridges. Wait a bit, then add her on various social media. Then start making posts on how this full time job has opened up so many opportunities for you. And she gives some examples of different posts that she can uh, use on social media. She said, don't tag your old boss, be discreet, but also be a little smug, LOL. I do like that suggestion of you don't want to burn any bridges. So you just be thoughtful about that. You don't know how long, you don't know who you may need in your career. Even though they may be a jerk, you can still maintain your professional integrity. So the next comment says, congratulations. Any text, any other proof that you have in terms of emails, go ahead and keep all of that for HR. It also suggests that there's any witnesses or anybody who's seen her manager doing or saying any of the things that she had mentioned to make sure that is documented, again, for HR purposes. And then congratulates her, said, good job on improving your situation. So there were a lot of well wishes for the OP, which were deserved. So, yes, hats off and congrats to the OP for finding another opportunity, a full time opportunity that will allow her not only to potentially grow and develop as a professional, but earn more money because she's young and she is really trying to find her way. So, let's move on to our next story. But before we do that, go ahead, like, comment, subscribe. What do you think is a good or the best exit strategies when you are looking for or have got another job? Let us know in the comments. Let us know in the comments. Again, please like, comment, and subscribe. So, moving on to our final post for this episode. Our next post is titled, Kicking a Homeless Man Out in the Freezing Cold While Eating Lunch. It's going to be somewhat of a long story, but to get into it, I need to give you a little background information. I'm homeless, I'm Canadian, I have multiple sclerosis, but thanks to some very fortunate events and a YouTube channel, I'm about to have a home within a couple of months. It is something I could not have accomplished on my own. So someone did a GoFundMe for this gentleman, and he is grateful. Um, the OP goes on to write, I don't drink, I don't do drugs. That being said, I still feel camaraderie with people on the streets. Today is Family Day, which is a Canadian holiday, so not much is open. I made my way into town to charge my stuff. I didn't realize the library was closed. So when I got to town, I stopped and I grabbed myself a sandwich from Mr. Sub, and then I made my way to the library. When I got there and found out it was closed, I had to figure out somewhere else to go charge my devices. I went into the A&W. When I got there, I bought a coffee, a burger, and some onion rings. I wasn't hungry because I had just eaten. I had snacked on the onion rings and sipped my coffee while charging my stuff. I had been there about 15 to 20 minutes when I saw someone outside digging through the garbage. He was disheveled, his shoes were too big, I could see his bare feet inside them, and we had just had a lot of snow. It was cold out, and he wasn't prepared for that. Not only that, but you could tell that he was severely mentally ill. He actually walked into A&W and came up to me when he heard the music playing on the store's radio. It was the theme song from A Night at the Roxbury, and yeah, he was dancing to it. He started talking to me, but I had a hard time understanding what he was saying because he was severely mentally ill or possibly handicapped. I was able to piece together what he wanted. He was hungry. I got that from him, digging through the garbage bins and then coming up to talk to me. Luckily for him, I had snacked on my onion rings, but I was stuffed from the sandwich I had earlier. So I gave him a head nod and reached over to my bag where the burger was, and I handed it to him. The guy smiled. He had a big smile on his face as he sat down, pulled out the burger, and started eating. Unfortunately, I don't know what was up with the staff, but as soon as they saw him sit down and take out the burger, they all came from the back and told us we had to leave immediately. I asked, "What's going on? I'm just eating and having my coffee." And so is he. Sure, I might not smell the greatest. It's been snowing a lot and I haven't had time to shower in about 3 days, which I don't like, but the guy didn't smell bad at all. I might have smelled a little, but I'm obsessively clean. Then one of the staff raised his voice at me and told us we didn't belong there. He said some pretty nasty things to me, and to be fair, I wasn't the nicest back to him. I was pissed off. Okay, I was more than just mad. It was negative 14 degrees Celsius out, and so that's around 7 degrees Fahrenheit. So it was cold. This guy just sat down to eat the burger. You could see he was cold. He wasn't dressed for the winter, and neither was I. And they weren't going to let him sit and eat. They were just going to tell him to leave and go back out into the cold. Hell, he didn't even have any socks. I felt bad for this guy. Now, here's where I was in the wrong. I did get upset. I did raise my voice at them, calling them a-holes, and maybe a little worse than that. They did the classic finger wag thing and told me to get out of the store. So I said, okay, fine. I'll go to another store. And I may or may not, mostly may, have thrown my half-finished lukewarm coffee against the window before storming out, screaming obscenities as I left. The guy ended up leaving too. I couldn't make sense of anything he was saying, but I told him to come with me. We walked over to Tim Hortons, not too far away, and I got him to sit down. I bought us both a coffee. I got him a cream cheese bagel and something extra to eat. But I don't know. Was I in the wrong? Maybe I don't belong in places like restaurants, but it is what it is. It is certainly a sad day when we utilize our privilege and we weaponize our privilege to be in a position where you're warm, you're at work, and you throw out a homeless person, it's less than humane to put a person in the cold and you don't have to. And I would understand a little bit better if maybe it was their store policy. However, the food had been bought and paid for. I just don't see why they couldn't let those men sit there and eat. What really stands out to me is that we got to be grateful for what we have because you don't know when your situation will change. And if you are working at a fast food restaurant, unless you're a young person and you are being taken care of by maybe your parents, if you're working at a fast food restaurant, you know what it means to financially maybe have some difficult times or be strapped or making sure that you are counting your pennies. So to look down at homeless individuals when any of us could be in that situation is horrible. It's horrible. And especially in a climate where affordable housing is almost non-existent and a lot of homeless people are working. There are people who have 2 and 3 jobs that are homeless because again, housing is just got to a place where it isn't affordable. And at the end of the day, we are all humans. We all get cold the same way. We all bleed the same way. The golden rule can apply here. Treat others like you want to be treated. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and get into the comments. So, first comment says, I don't think you were wrong for standing up for yourself, but throwing the coffee might have been over the line for me. I only say this because you might have solidified the stereotype of a homeless person in their mind with that behavior. Although I agree the treatment is unfair and horrid towards homeless people, I don't think that attitude is going to change if we all start screaming at each other instead of listening to each other and trying to understand each other. And then the OP did reply to the comment by saying, I completely agree. It was way out of line and not like me, but I don't know. The rage really boiled up in me given the entirety of the situation. And then there was another reply to the OP, and it says, why is throwing the coffee over the line? You didn't hurt anyone. Making a mess is a valid way to protest. Be obstructive. This guy saying you went too far would have happily thrown the homeless guy out into the cold. Anyone who has tolerance for the intolerant can go F themselves. Okay, okay. I certainly see there's some varying perspective here. And then there are a couple more comments I do want to get into. This comment says, anyone can end up homeless. I was married 40 years, worked except when my kids were little or I was in school. After 40 years with my ex-husband, he threatened to kill me and I fled my home. Boom, homeless. Never judge people because you have no idea what their life has been like. And then there's a reply to that comment that says, most homeless people I've met have been effed over in some way. I have come close to being homeless a few times. The first time, some friends were good enough to let me stay with them for a few months while I juggled stuff to get my own place. I was leaving my ex-husband the second time. I was unemployed and not able to find a job in the town that I was in. I sucked it up and moved back with my parents for a while. The most recent time, my husband, daughter, and I were faced with a non-renewal notice, which we had no legal recourse to fight because of the lack of renters' rights in our state. We moved in with an uncle and some cousins who had just before faced an almost exact same situation. Life is hard, and I've been extremely lucky to have people who are able to, and willing to help. Not everyone has that. I totally agree. And the thing is, everybody is going through something and you just don't know what they're going through. We are all having this human experience here on this earth, and there are challenges that come with it. If you think about every post today, the OP is going through things that you may not know, or that is that likelihood that someone in that situation can be triggered. If you think about the first post where you have the woman who was being bullied, right? She was patient until she wasn't patient anymore. You don't know what she was going through, and she just had enough. If you think about the post where the young lady, 25, going to school, but she made the decision that she couldn't or did not want to accrue any more debt. So she was looking for a better opportunity. She was going through her own financial struggles only to have a supervisor who was trying to be a barrier from her getting another opportunity that could help her in her situation. And then we come to our final, and to me, the most disheartening of all of the stories today, where you kick homeless people out in the cold. Again, everybody's going through something. So that concludes this episode of She Read It Real Talk. Thank you for joining me at my dining room table for this chat about entitled people. And just remember, the next time that you think that you deserve some type of special treatment, the next time that you think that you deserve some type of privilege above and beyond others, that everybody is somebody. Everybody is somebody. So please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. And with that, I'll see you in the next one.